Hi, my name is Graham Potter, and in the workshop today we've got something a little bit different from what we've been doing recently on YouTube. This tree is a privet, common privet, or Ligustrum ovalfolium, which is a plant that's used extensively in the UK for hedging, and that's where this material has come from. It's been in this pot for probably 4 or 5 years, and in that time we've just pruned and pruned and pruned, and that's given us some basic branch structure. The natural habit of this tree is very long, very straight, linear branches, and so in order to create bonsai from this we will need to use some wire to shape the basic branch structure that we've created. On the face of it, it looks like really promising material. You've got a nice big trunk, all sorts of interesting things happening here, but in actual fact this tree is not as great as it looks. There are several long straight trunks all coming from one base, and they're not particularly attractive, and if I rotate the tree you'll see it's very flat from any direction that you look at it. There's no real depth in this plant at all, because there are all these trunks just coming right out at you. So in order to be able to style this tree we're going to have to use some carving techniques and get in and cut a lot of this straightness away. There's quite a lot of natural dieback as well, which obviously is going to hopefully enable us to do something a little bit more interesting in there without stripping out too much live wood. But the main thing really with this type of material is using carving techniques to actually create the profile of the trunk. So we've got 1 or 2 large pieces in here that we're going to be able to remove, and then once we get down to that basic trunk form we're going to be able to use wire to shape the branches to accentuate that trunk form. Privet is a member of the olive family and as such is incredibly robust. I first started working this species 20 years ago when I knew really absolutely nothing, and even back then I found it impossible to kill them. You can pretty much do anything at any time of year with privet and it'll forgive you and it'll just carry on growing. It's a wonderful species for beginners to use for creating bonsai, and this type of material is certainly perfect material to use if say it's your first carving project or it's the first time that you've really got into that type of work. So we're now going to begin to prune away some of the material in this tree we don't need, and then we'll be carving it, and then finally just a little bit of wire. We won't be finishing this tree, but what we're going to do is lay the basic groundwork for what will become bonsai in the future. Now I've removed these large straight pieces which were not particularly attractive. You can see it's opened the tree up. This is probably going to be the back, but you can begin now to see into this material, and I think we're going to be left with a twin trunk tree here. Both of the back sides of these trunks are completely dead. This material here you can see is all dead. That's fairly typical of privet when it's been heavily pruned and reduced from what this tree would have been originally. So now we have to consider which of these 2 trunks is going to be the dominant one, and my feeling is that this one is the most interesting. So this one is now going to have to be reduced in height, because it doesn't ever look good with a twin trunk design of tree to have both of them more or less the same height. And also the growth up here is a long way from the first branches down here, so we would have a large part of this trunk fairly long, fairly straight, without any branches. So I'm now going to reduce this one as well. I've finished removing all the straight material from this tree. I think you'll agree the proportions have improved, but ultimately it's still very ugly. So now we can get on with some carving and begin to really start to improve this. We're going to create some taper in the trunk, remove a lot of the cuts, get rid of a lot of the mess around the base, and really simplify the lines in this tree. So hopefully we should end up with something more attractive at the end.